Hey, welcome to Space Gab. Not actually Space Gab, but that was the podcast I did since 2013. The podcast that you can hear me in the opening scene of the sci-fi movie Cosmos, which came out in 2019. You can hear me on the podcast on their radio as those guys that are looking for ET or signals from ET as they drive out to their location. So check it out. It's free. Cosmos. It's free on many venues, including YouTube and a bunch of other stuff. But anyway, I wanted to get on here, and I haven't done Space Gab podcast since earlier this year, actually the beginning of this year. But I wanted to get on here to talk a little bit about some things because this UAP stuff / UFO stuff is really taken off. I mean, it's just coming together. I mean, my gosh, former GS-15 David Grush was on Tucker last night and on what is it, News Nation and in front of Congress and the whole bit. So pretty interesting stuff. You know, I've got a career in Department of Defense for 36 years total, I guess. I'm retired now. I was at the GS level also, and I worked supporting quite a few different organizations. But the biggest organization I supported near the end of my career, actually probably more than half of my career, was supporting space. So launches, things like this, all kinds of space stuff. You name it, a lot of space sensor things. So I kind of got back into looking at this UAP, UFO stuff again. Really interesting what's going on and what the people. It's actually growing. You've got a lot more podcasts now. You've got a lot more people interested in this and taking note because, you know, congressmen and senators are all getting involved in this now, which really hasn't happened. When I was, I was starting in the 70s in the DOD. And so I went way back and, I had clearances, things like this. And people with clearances, we talk about things to each other. Kind of interesting. But these whistleblowers, a lot of whistleblowers coming out now, a lot of whistleblowers. But, a lot of times what you see and what you hear, take it with a grain of salt, a lot of this stuff. You hear stories during your career, and, some are really interesting stories. I'll tell you, many interesting stories. You see interesting things, really interesting things during your career, depending on who you support. And I've supported quite a few organizations and seen interesting things and heard interesting stories. But I know about those things. I know that stuff. And I once in a while I used to talk about certain things on the Space Gab podcast. I've been on the Discovery Channel before, the military channel, when I used to track orbiting objects using one of the now decommissioned Air Force radars from my backyard using coat hanger antennas. But on my website, MikeColetta.com, you can get links to all that kind of stuff. You can check it out. But like I said, it's very interesting stuff going on. And I'm kind of watching. I'm looking at different podcasts and listening to radio shows and looking at videos and seeing a lot of these people that are getting into the genre for the first time, into these venues for the first time and trying to gain the knowledge. But you also have people that are getting in here who don't know what the heck they're talking about. So be careful of those people. But I do commend those people that are coming in for the first time and wanting to learn this stuff. And they admit that they want to learn this stuff. People like Richard Dolan, who I've met numerous times and corresponded with on different subjects. In the past, I met him at Roswell. I've been to Roswell 3 times, actually. I met him at Roswell in 2007, I think. Hung out with him for a little bit. Now, he's a graybeard like me. He's a graybeard. Trust the Graybeards. The Graybeards have been around a while, and they know things and they know how to write books. Richard Dolan for sure knows how to write books, and he investigates. He's a history buff on the UFO history and knows a lot of people. So, and I see a lot of people do follow him and asked about, hey, is he a good one to follow? Yes, he is. He's a good one to follow, Richard Dolan. And there's a number of others that are really good to follow as far as, if you take this stuff seriously. Okay, because there's a lot of people out there who know things, who don't say anything about it, and we're never going to say anything about it because we know things. But it's good to know, because you've been involved in it. You took an oath, you signed things and all this, and you stick by that stuff. I am anyway. I'm sticking by that stuff. So, but there's our people out there who are whistleblowers, are coming forward for different reasons and all that. But yeah, you get around stuff all the time, and you see things, and a lot of times you don't know what those things are, but you get around them anyway, and you listen to stories. I heard some super interesting stories about the UAP UFO stuff from people who said that they worked on this stuff. Do I believe them? I don't know. I was hoping that the David Grush stuff came out and would enlighten me too on some of the things I heard or I saw or how I was involved with. What was this stuff? What is it? What is it? But it's kind of interesting. But I just wanted to share this. But the real reason I came on was Major Ed Dames, remote viewing. Now, a lot of people aren't into that remote viewing stuff. But Major Ed Dames, I've been listening to him for a long time. And he's a very intelligent guy. Kind of interesting to listen to for many subjects. I listen to a lot of stuff. I used to listen to Art Bell for years and years and years and got into this paranormal stuff. And I was big into the paranormal too. And you'll see that on the website, MikeColetta.com. And I've got some links. What I used to do. I don't do that stuff anymore. I don't do any paranormal stuff. I once again started looking at this UFO stuff because it's been interesting. Like I said, I'm retired, DOD, and I let the people, if they want to talk, fine. I'm just going to listen. I'm not going to be talking, okay? Because I have been asked by certain people, high up there, graybeards, things like this. What do you know? I'm not going to talk about this stuff. I want people to, if they're going to talk, fine, let them talk. But I'm still on the ride. I'm still watching and listening. It's interesting. It's still interesting to me. I still find this very interesting. But quite a few things I did, and the UFOs was one of them. This one thing about where this new study came out, talking about how they categorized all these different UFOs and crafts and the size and the shape and the EMF that they were letting off electromagnetic fields and how that was deciphered and all that. Really interesting stuff. And I wrote to the guy that put this study out. I said, hey, during the paranormal stuff, I used to devise a lot of paranormal devices before they actually had paranormal devices. They didn't have devices way back when I was getting into all this stuff. So you had to make your own stuff and guess, well, what does this do? And what does this do? What does this do? So I used to make this stuff and would, test it at different places. But a couple of the devices were these electromagnetic field detectors before they even have them. Now you can buy this stuff everywhere. But we made quite a few things and tested them at different locations and all that. And I was telling the guy, shoot, I should have jumped into this UFO UAP detector business, I guess. But that would have been interesting. But getting back on subject, if you, Major Ed Dames was on Coast to Coast AM last night, and very interesting things happened. He talked about, and the UAP UFOs were some of them. And you people that are into this consciousness stuff, if you're into the UFO and it's all about the consciousness, you'll be interesting to listen to his talk. I will put a link on there that goes back to this talk. Where he had, while it's still being aired from last night's show. It's free. It's one of those things. I just found it by accident. I kind of listened, but just listen to a little bit of it here. You can hear, he starts out this way. Oop.
I was in the first top secret UAP group ever. Before anybody knew anything about this thing. Correct. I was the youngest member of the first group. So we met outside.
But he talks about that. My battery just died. Or was it the battery? No, it was the battery that died. Anyway, I'll put a link to his talk because he talks about what he sees, what they've asked him in the past. This was a government program he did for remote viewing for the government. And as we're finding out more and more, a lot of things were being funded for the government, different things. So he many times went back with his remote viewing crew, and he taught, they zeroed in how they do it. And he's talking about the UAPs now and propulsion systems and consciousness. He's talking about consciousness too. So interesting stuff. But I just wanted to share this. I wanted to get on here because I haven't done a podcast, Space Gap podcast, for a while. I'm not going to go back into it that I know of anyway. I think you can still listen to quite a few of the episodes I did. It's spacegabpodcast.com. Some of them are on there, and I think there's elsewhere also. I think I had a little bit over 200 episodes. Like I said, and then it was in that Cosmos movie too. It was kind of cool. It's a cool movie. If you like Contact, the movie Contact, check out the movie Cosmos because it's kind of like more up to date, more than a Contact was, but it's similar in nature. So I just want to get out here and say, keep on. This is very interesting. Watching the Twitters, or actually it's X now, UAPX and UFOX and UAP Twitter, and still UFO Twitter too, I think. But it's interesting to see what's going on with all these different people. And I'm still reading. You'll see me pop in every once in a while into one of those spaces, and they got some pretty good spaces on what is it, X space, and or it was Twitter space at one time, Spaces. I'll pop in and just kind of listen and say, but like I said, there's whistleblowers out there, and some of them are probably doing the whistleblowing for one reason, and others are doing it for another reason. This David Grush, now because he was a GS-15, which is way up there. I was a GS, I was up there too, but a little bit lower than he was. So listening to a GS-15 and all what he's gone through, I'm really looking forward to more information coming out from this individual, just to confirm things that I maybe saw or heard or watched or whatever. Because I'm not going to talk about this stuff, but I'm sure going to look to see, what others are going to talk about, and maybe it has to do with some of the stuff we were involved with. I don't know. But yeah, I enjoyed listening to his talks he's had so far, News Nation, and they're kind of like the heroes of they putting this stuff out there, and then Congress got into it, and the congressmen and the senators. But hey, I'm rambling here, but I just wanted to say hi, Mike Coletta, MikeColetta.com, SpaceGapPodcast.com. Hey, it's interesting. Keep it going because you've got people. Will there be disclosure? I don't know. Full disclosure? I don't know. We'll see. It's an interesting ride though. What was it in that one movie context? You want to take a ride? Have a great day.